Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. We are in a very powerful gateway, a beautiful ascension number of 1111 in this year of 2021. And our guests today are twin ray luminaries, Sananda and Shekinah Christ. Hi, Sananda and Shekinah, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, beloved Lauren. Thank you so much for having us. And this is a wonderful, important, auspicious portal. So it's a joy to be with you all.
Yes, it's lovely to see you again and be with your audience and your community, and just really share a special time and presence in this sacred portal of 1111.
What a beautiful portal of 1111. We can go into a little bit of the history, but we're primarily going to talk about the new energies coming in. And I just want to share, look at that number. Look at that number. We can feel the power in these repetitive twos. And that's really what we're going to talk about. This is a beautiful year coming up for the divine feminine, even more, and even more on our journey for unity consciousness. So can you share with us the best ways that we can align with this energy? What's going on really?
Yeah, this whole build-up that has been happening for many years, but has been really peaking in the last few years. It's noticeable that there's a massive shift that's happened now. You know, people are not only aware of this, but are actively participating with this shift. And so 2022 is going to be another catalyst year. Yeah, it's really a master builder year. When you look at the 2022 being the master builder number, and what is 11? 11, it's obviously, if you put that together, it is 22 right now. So we're at that very entry point to what this next year is going to be about.
And that's what 1111 is. It's the double pillars of prosperity, the double pillars of possibility, the double pillars of blessings that are actually being granted and bestowed upon the earth to those who really have the heart to experience it. And this 2022 is going to be an unprecedented year. It is a year where the energies have never been experienced before on this planet at all. And so there's nothing even close to it for us to say, well, maybe at this point there was something similar, because there really isn't.
And we've been in unprecedented times for, since 2012 really, but then 2020, as that new gateway of the Bethlehem star to really announce to the collective, like literally in the night sky, announce that arrival of that this Aquarian time that we're in. So there's been many astrological markers that have been pointing to this prophetic time. And really 2022, why there's nothing to go by with like talking about what we could relate it to, is because Pluto is going through a new cycle. It's called the Pluto return for the United States. And we've never experienced this on this earth because Pluto wasn't discovered. And so when Pluto has a very long orbit, there's a saying in astrology, and we've said this many times to our community, is that when Pluto is happening, nothing else matters, because Pluto is such a potent force. And what that represents for everyone,
there's no planning for Pluto.
Yeah, and what that represents for everyone and anyone in the collective is a rebirth. That's what Pluto does. It rebirths you. It helps you deliver you to this new unified consciousness that people are coming in contact with, that people are remembering. They're remembering the truth of their being. The veil of delusion and illusion is dropping away. And Pluto is really it destroys all falsities and illusions. And so it's that part of one's own self that is prepared or not prepared to awaken to that deeper truth. And sometimes and everyone that's been on their journey for some time now, they can recall that it probably all began with seeing 1111 on their phone, having this reminder that was waking them up to this reminder of there's something happening, there's a synchronicity happening. And everyone's had to go through that sort of hero's journey, an inner hero's journey of like really rediscovering who they are and shedding the layers of the falsities and letting go of the illusion of ego constructs and letting that go. And that's just going to be happening on a larger scale, but it's a rebirth. And whatever happens in America is a ripple for the entire world. It's a fractal that will happen for the entire world. And so the very Declaration of Independence that was signed, that independence of every being that's constituted United States and the unification of this country is going to go through a rebirth. So that won't, we've entered into what we call the wormhole. In astrology, there's a term that's called the wormhole, where when there's a new moon, this happened on the 4th of November, but on the new moon, before there's the lunar and solar eclipses, it's called a wormhole period. And that wormhole period is basically that it's like a quantum leap. So we're in quantum conversations, and it's literally a quantum leap of where you can end up in any sort of new timeline reality.
And we call this a sideways elevator because really you feel like you're pushing the 19th floor, but you may end up in another realm altogether and you're not going to that floor at all. You are planning for something. You've planned for the last 2 years for something. It might not happen right now. You might be taken into such surprising places. And so we say, allow that to be, open up to that possibility and that potentiality, because the grand design knows far more than you do, knows far more, and is far more benevolent, wiser, omnipresent, omniscient, all of that. And so we trust in that implicitly for the greater good and for the destiny path of all beings on the planet.
Yeah, and getting back to this wormhole theory is, if you were to fold a piece of paper and you were to put a hole in that piece of paper and then open that paper up, you can see how there's an instant travel. That paper that's you've just put an incision in that folded piece of paper. When it opens up, it travels quite instantly. You can see that connection point. And so that's sort of the metaphor that we give people, where there could be things that you've been planning that haven't come to fruition, but in this time, massive monumental gains can happen in reaping the harvest of many beautiful seeds that you've had in your journey. So it can go either, but basically it's a time where you go out of time, essentially. And what we mean by that is that anything is possible, anything accelerating. If you're on track, if you're on purpose, if you're in alignment, you can accelerate tremendously in this period. And this period will end around the 7th of January. So it's literally delivering us into 2022. And then in February of 2022 is when the initial energy starts coming to alignment, transition point for Pluto. And when we speak about astrology, we're not speaking about just these planets out there in space. We're talking about it's within you. It's within your inner space. It's within your own awareness.
And it's both. Of course, you look out in the sky and the stars, and you can clearly see that there are planets. You can see the stars. You can see the skyscape. But what's happening out in those planets this is what we're talking about. We're talking about that those planets are also inside of you, as above, so below, as within, so without, the stars, the cells, all of this. This is very much in keeping with the new philosophy of this world right now. And this is what we teach consistently, is that there is no such thing as out there without understanding inside what's happening and how the correlations and the connections of the dance of the stars are affecting the internal dance of your own stars.
Yeah, and to make that really simple, is that every planet, constitutes different archetypal frequencies, really, and inside your own personality, there's certain archetypal frequencies that can come up into your expression of life. But
they're just characteristics, really.
And going beyond all that, those resonant frequencies are also aligned to your very genetic expression. And this is a good point to make and segue to make to really speak about the new physiology that's coming for this new species, and that people are experiencing, and people are acknowledging that there is a metamorphosis that's happening. But all these planets, what they do, when you take your first breath into this life, as an infant born into this life, that first breath it's like the snapshot of the sky. Every single alignment in the sky is breathed into the body, and your nadial channels, which are known as spiritual nerves within your body, your biocircuitries essentially, they're more held in your etheric or your bioenergy field, and that imprint of that first breath, that intelligence of the first breath of life, that breath goes in and seeds that constitution of all the constellations that are aligned in the sky.
And that creates your reality.
And basically what that means as well is that your last breath from your last incarnation, that last exhale, that's recorded information, that's recorded intelligence in that space that's sent out. And as that soul makes a transition and the body leaves that last breath, that becomes your next breath, your first breath, where you pick up from in your next incarnation. So you can never escape your karma, you can never escape your lessons, because it's all recorded in these intelligent, sentient beings that are called planets. But it's always recorded within the bioenergetic field of you, because there's no separation between the universal structure and the divine design and the divine template of the divine human that you are.
Yes, really fascinating what's going on, and the physiology of the divine human, the new physiology. We are moving from this carbon-based body into crystalline. Is that what you're speaking of, or can you expand on how we recognize these divine human qualities within us? Because in the collective world, it seems like there's going to be a point where the majority of people will surrender to love. Is that what is happening? Are we going to just surrender to it instead of pushing or resisting?
Well, there's going to be both. There is a great polarization. I'm going to not use the word great. There is a large polarization happening right now in the world, and people are succumbing to fear on greater levels than we've ever seen before. But there are also those who are standing for love and upholding love greater than they've ever done before as well. And even within spiritual communities, there is a huge polarization happening. And we've found that right now more people are turning away from God than ever before. And also, there are those that are turning to truth and a deeper level of love in a different way. And this is all giving the opportunity to do so. Everything that's happening right now is a golden opportunity. It's a golden opportunity to really uphold love and uphold truth at all costs, because these are what the tests are happening right now. People are being tested left and right. Do you believe what you're teaching? Do you live what you're saying? Can you stay in your center no matter what is happening around you and not get triggered, and find that heart compassion and that love no matter what's being thrown at you? And can you then, as something is thrown at you, can you send back that love in infinite waves? And that's really the test right now. We've heard people say, we're of age. We're of age. It's time for us humans. We're of age. But are you of heart? And there's a big difference between being of age intellectually, or beginning to realize and rationalize things in a different manner, than being at heart. And so what we're teaching is very much heart-based, that goes straight to the truth of love. And through that is how you start to cultivate processes for the divine human. The divine human is going to be based on love. And through that opening, everything else happens. This is where your plasma template starts to come from.
I know that all of those watching and listening right now, when we chose to incarnate in this lifetime and we saw the challenge or the opportunity that would be before us, we laughed. I know many laughed and said, of course we can be love in the face of everything. But this truly is a test now, isn't it? And so if we are to, I'm breaking here because my voice, with both of you beautiful beings, you always move me to another level. And I know you're moving everyone else to another level. But as we're here to speak our truth, I know I'm not the only one who's had dreams recently of speaking of love in the case of everything. And so it really is our test now to be that love. It's not easy. So as we look even in our community, there are so many common threads that we need to keep our eye on. And it's the thread of love, and it's the heart-based love. And I think that's the focus, and not to judge others, but to go within for our higher self. What do you have to say about this process?
Yeah, this is the journey, really, to remember yourself as love. And the world will always be changing. The world will always be evolving. Just as your physical body is an extension of the world as well. And your energetics is an extension of all that plays out in this reality. And so it's ever changing. But there's one thing that doesn't change, and that is love. Love is the eternal presence that has never changed. It is complete. It is whole. You cannot add anything to it. You cannot subtract anything away from it. And that's who you truly are. And as simple as the teaching is that you're not your mind, and you're not your body. You're not even your emotions. You're not your conditioning. Not all that. It's so easy to misconstrue these beliefs that one holds on to, or these identities that one has, to get confused with who they are and what love is. But love is that pure I am presence that is always present, is the true notion of what I is when you find that I that is the true infinite within. That is the love that we're speaking of. That is the unconditional oneness of all of it. The horrors, seemingly horrors, the beautiful expressions, the golden age, the dark age, the everything in its entirety, whatever it manifests as, it's all love. And that's hard for people. That's hard to but what about,
impossible to wrap anyone's brain around?
What about this? And what about that catastrophe? And what about this? This is not okay. But really, that it's all a play. It's all of this life is a beautiful play. And it can either be a dream to play in the beautiful expression of that bliss that is really available, or it can be a nightmare for some. And so for us, it's really important to go back to the 101, to go back to the 101 teaching of the simplicity of love. Because yes, the body may metamorph into a silicon base and transcend the carbon, and you can activate your DNA potential and have 1,000 or 1,000,000 different new strands of DNA, and you can experience different dimensions of being, and you can have all these different acidic powers and abilities. But that's not the point. That's just the subset of experiencing the unconditional oneness. When you realize yourself as that, it doesn't matter what the body does. The body will evolve. But the divine human that we're speaking of is to shine. The word divine, if we break that word down, it means to shine. Divine, deos, that is the expression of the illumination, that self-illumination. What is already illuminated? Love. What is already self-regenerating? Love. What is already realized and enlightened? Love. So what is already blissful and experiences that? Love itself. So when you get rid of the notions that you're someone separate from love, or someone that you have to find love, or you have to seek love, and you get rid of these notions that distract you from who you already are, and you come into contact with that realization, that true unchanging reality, and you abide in that reality, that unconditional oneness of love, it literally, it's not that you have to surrender to love. You are brought to your knees to that. Literally, you are shattered of all those egoic expressions and all those tendencies that are based in fear. You melt into the truth of what that love is, and love
is the most humbling thing.
It humbles you to your core, and that's the love that we're speaking of. Not this romantic idea of feeling good. Now, that's temporary on your mind state. But when you come into contact and you let your mind be absorbed into that omnipresence of what love is, and we speak of love as pure consciousness, as the Holy Spirits, we use this synonymously with that true essence of you, which is a true reality of the universe, the only reality of the universe,
the only reality of the universe,
and the true nature of you, each one of you that are listening right now. And that once you're aware of that and you come into contact, what happens is the entire biology, your entire endocrinology, your nervous system, your genetic profile transforms, like profoundly. It literally, what we find is when you go beyond the mind and you are seated in the presence of your true self, which is the unconditional oneness of God's love, of the love of Christ, of the love of truth. When you are abiding in that, all these miracles happen. Healing miracles, like your entire body just self-corrects itself. It's come in contact with with what it's been longing for all along, and the ego gets subdued and almost dissolved to a point where there is no more imagery of one's narrative. No one's self-identity is there anymore. You're not trying to become someone or something. You just abide in that truth of who you are as that love. So we always share, just go back to the basics of who you already are instead of trying to be something. And because when you do that, all this transmogrification happens. The genetic profile happens, everything gets unlocked. It's so simple. It's so simple. It's not meant to be difficult. And that's the choices at every junction of your life. What do you choose? Do you choose love or do you choose fear? Do you choose duality or do you choose oneness? It's really simple.
It is, and the pathway to get there for so many beloveds right now is to release any victimhood, because that is one of the barriers that we see. And why is this? Just for a moment, we feel it's important to understand and maybe change the perspective for one moment, hopefully, that all that is happening in the world right now, everything political, everything, on all the different levels and realms of experience here on this earth plane, everything that's coming up to the surface is only a reflection of the psychology of the human condition. All it is Warring countries do not just exist in those countries. They exist in the way that you communicate to yourself. They exist within you, your own internal conflict. And so all of these conflicts that are coming up in the world are a blessing. And the reason they're a blessing is because this is the only reflection that anyone really pays attention to. What seemingly is existing in the world is only the reflection of the internal battle of the psyche. And this is spiritual psychology 101. And yet we feel that it is missed completely.
Yeah, there's three distinct realities or levels of one reality, we can say. The first one is one's own psychology. So this is the internal narrative of, I like this, I don't like that, this is not good, this is bad, this, those perceptions of one's own conditioning, of what one has believed and perceived to be. Now, the second reality is just as it is. You see it for as it is, with no filtration, no projection of it. It just, reality is what it is. How you interpret that is independent upon your own conditioning. Then the third reality is the absolute reality that's unchanging. It's the reality of true love, really, where it's actually, when you perceive life in that way, that the tasting of that bliss is so profound that all the nonsense of what one has perceived or believed as separate just dissolves. It can, and you just see again that unconditional oneness of that one true reality, which is unchanging. Now, it's sort of like we're on this screen right now. The screen changes. We're maybe moving, we're maybe animating. The words that we're speaking, the audio shifts as we say different words. And we're speaking about.
If we move like this, it changes completely.
And so the content basically on the screen, the objects on the screen are changing, but the screen itself is unchanging. That screen, that awareness, that consciousness, that pure expression of love, that pure omnipresence of what love truly is, allows creation to create, allows it to go through its creational process, its sustaining process, and its transformational process. Mm-hmm. Everything has that cycle. But when you are not only aware of that one reality, but when you abide in that, and every action that you take, every breath that you have is fixed on that true reality.
And is an offering to that reality.
Whatever happens in the first world, the human psyche and the psychology, or what happens in the second world with objective form, it doesn't affect you ever. And the truth is, you are never unaffected. What gets affected? The mind. That's what gets affected. The emotions. That's what gets affected. That's what gets triggered. But who's aware of their minds? Who's aware of their thoughts? Who's the one that's aware of the emotions that shift and change? That's where you need to seek refuge, in the nearest and dearest, the most closest truth of your being. And that doesn't change. But when you abide in that, life becomes a beautiful expression of what it's always been. On this path of seeking enlightenment or seeking divinity, there's no one that becomes enlightened. There's no individual person that becomes enlightened. Consciousness is already self-illuminated. Consciousness is already enlightened. But what happens is the mind and the energetic fields and the subtle bodies and the energy bodies get reconditioned or deconditioned. Mm-hmm. And then one experiences that true reality, and it reflects the true self through the mind, through the heart, through one's actions. And so it's not like the individual can become enlightened. Enlightenment is the self-illumination that is consciousness itself, which is everyone's true nature, which is not you have consciousness, we have consciousness, everyone has, no, that there only is consciousness. There's only one consciousness, an absolute consciousness, and there's infinite different minds. There's infinite different bodies and sentient expressions from borrowing that life force and primordial force from consciousness. And when you refine yourself, just as if a pure lake is just crystal clear, and it's undisturbed, and it's just completely serene, and it reflects all the mountains. It reflects the beautiful sunshine. It reflects all the flowers and its environment with perfect precision. Because it's completely still. It's crystal clear with absolute transparency, and it's beautiful. That is what the mind is meant to become. That is what the heart desires to become. So the mind becomes basically a slave to the master of the heart. And the heart just shines through the purity of the soul, purity of spirit. And then all of these worries just go away.
They do.
Really. And love is so profound, because it can be so gentle as well. There's this, I'm reminded of this this little story about the devotee, where a devotee came, a devotee of love, let's call it, came to seek refuge for a night in a householder to have shelter. And the householder said, yes, of course, you can come and stay. And he goes, I just need a little tiny area in the corner of the house. It's like, oh yes, no problem, you can have this corner, you can stay here. And so in his little corner, he puts up his little statues and his little pictures of his devotion, and he starts singing, and then the householder starts feeling that frequency, and really get inspired to then set up their own altar, to have a devotion to God, a devotion to love. And then so the devotee starts then expanding, and then he starts putting pictures all up around the house. And so this little corner starts expanding throughout the house with more pictures of different expressions of love and different teachers of love throughout the time. And then the households get even more transformed. Then all of a sudden the devotee starts cooking in the kitchen and starts transforming the kitchen with offerings of love and food. And then the householders start eating that love and start expressing that love into their body. And then by a very short period of time, all of a sudden the whole householders becomes devotees of love. And so they just started this little tiny bit, and that metaphor is just for each one, just start every day with just a little bit of gratitude, a little bit of love, and just see what you're appreciative for, just a little bit of devotion. Then it grows and grows and gently unties all these binding knots based on fear. And all of a sudden, your entire reality is experiencing that love of the divine, that nectar of the divine. And so we felt called to share that little parable of just how little acts of love, giving love, sharing love, abiding in love, can transform your entire space and your entire life.
And that's why when we volunteered to come here into this incarnation, we said, oh yeah, we got that. We can be love in all ways. And so thank you for sharing that beautiful story. It reminds me of, I've interviewed people with near-death experiences, and one gentleman who's had several saw the whole workings and the mechanics of the psyche, as you said. And he simply says, what if nothing is wrong? What if nothing is wrong? And now we can take that in and hear it and be like, okay. But for me personally, it took a couple of weeks for that simple statement to really kick in. And I was driving down the road and I totally got it from a new perspective. And that's where it was like, wow, all we do is abide in love, as you say, and surrender to love. This is innate within all of us. So that's why I and others who are watching this are eternal optimists on this mission of love, because we will get there. It looks like we're far from it, but we will get there. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
We know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are certain of this.
And also, what if nothing was right?
What
if nothing was right or wrong?
What if no one's right or wrong? Exactly. What if no one is right or wrong?
Yeah, what about if it's just a beautiful expression of just as it is? What if, and this doesn't mean that you have to limit yourself with ideologies of should we do this or shouldn't we do that, and just follow your heart. Your heart knows. Your heart knows that truth within you. But when it comes to this transformation that's happening on this planet, there's this complete shift into a whole new reality. There's some that can go gracefully and experience that grace and invite that grace to literally take them on that path.
And others will fight it the entire journey.
And that's,
and they will resist.
And that's just a natural response to the unknown for some. But you're right, everyone that incarnated chose this. The soul level you chose it. You said, yeah, I'll come down here and I'll love up this world. I'll be a pillar.
I can do it. Choose me.
And some of us laughed, saying, ha, 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 what? You can't, that's so simple. So let's just all remember that, right? Yes.
And
yeah.
Just sharing, beloved, that we too have had many near-death experiences and transitions away from this realm, this dream of life, and sometimes it takes that. Sometimes it takes a very cessation of the mind itself, and that's what the simple word yoga means. The whole expression of yoga is basically the cessation of mind. When you cessate the mind and the mind is satisfied and it surrenders, then you are able to see with absolute clarity the true reality. And that's enough. Once you see that, once you realize that, that's enough to transform everything in an instant. And that's what everyone's really seeking, because it really, on the path of this life journey, it's all about finding happiness. But when one comes to the recognition that no object is really ever going to give you happiness. And of course, if there was an object that will give you happiness, whether that be relationship, whether that be a product, or whether that be a technology, or whether that be something, if that was going to give you happiness, someone would have found it by now. Within the whole history of humanity, someone would have found it now. But the truth is that happiness is you. You actually are the source of happiness. All that needs to happen is you to bring that out and manifest that divinity into your life. And that's everything that we ever offer. Everything that we ever teach, everything that we ever offer is really just doing that one thing. It's more of an unlearning process, unlearning all the false notions of the limited self, all the untruths. If you unlearn the untruths, what remains is just the truth of the true self. And so that's as simple and as elegant as it really is. And when one purifies themselves by letting go, it's more of a releasing. It's releasing all these things that many have had been bounded to their attachments of. When you realize that you are the very source of happiness itself, you are the very source of love itself, nothing can add to that happiness. And so anything that you're seeking is actually trying to add to what you already are, that's already whole and complete. And so all you have to do is manifest that out. And that, that can be a lifelong journey. It can be many incarnations, but that's what everyone at the soul level, before you incarnate, it's like, oh yeah, I've got this. I don't have any, at that level, there's no sort of conditioning on the human experience. But when you come in to the beautiful temples that these are, all of a sudden there's societal conditioning, parental conditioning, cultural conditioning, and then the mind,
genetic conditioning.
But the shortcut out of it all is love, really. And when that happens, the biology starts metamorphosizing, your genetics start expressing themselves, you start producing all these sacred secretions, there starts to be this alchemy that's cultivated inside you, you start experiencing more of an ascension. But the truth is, spirit never ascends. What it is the mind actually, or the physiology actually ascending into that true state of one unconditional expression of love, which is a vibration that literally is the building blocks of this entire universe. But who you are never actually ascends. The individual persona may ascend into that realization or descend out of that realization, but the pure consciousness is that whole field that is already ascended, that is already that. And all that you need to do is really return to that. And it is simple, but it's not easy. That's the thing. When you listen to an amazing musician, they make whatever instrument they're playing look incredibly easy, whether it's a pianist or it's a guitarist, whatever songstress expresses in there, because they are just illuminated with joy and enthusiasm and inspiration as they're sharing their love and passion for that. What if you could have that passion? What if you could have that love, that enthusiasm, that inspiration with every moment of life? It's possible. And in fact, your entire biology is designed to have that. Because what happens is when you start seeking refuge in the true source of your being love, being that true Holy Spirit, the one awareness, that one consciousness, when you just take refuge in that, it literally starts rewiring your entire biology. It rewires the brain. The neuroplasticity of the brain gets rewired. The nerve system gets rewired. The endocrine system gets rewired. All the organs start communicating in a holistic manner with each other. And what happens is you actually start creating more receptor sites for serotonin to dock in to that brain of yours that produces that serotonin, that feel-good feeling. Your stomach gets rewired to actually produce more receptor sites of serotonin, to actually feel more of that dopamine and those sacred chemistries that prolong that expression of bliss. And then it becomes self-sustaining. So love is self-sustaining because once your instrument has been finely tuned to the grace of love, to the song, the one non-dual song of love, then you are literally on this cloud that is taking you above it all, but it doesn't make you impractical. It makes you like abscond from taking any responsibility. It means you meet every responsibility with the face of love.
And grace.
And with grace, with absolute like conviction of knowing that truth. It doesn't mean that you get to be, aloof or detached from life. Oh, I'm just not going to take responsibilities and let it just be. No, you actually are fully engaged in life. When you actually realize the true nature of your being, you don't start moving away from being engaged in life. You actually move towards it. You actually fully express it. You fully live it. You actually live more than you've ever have in your entire life.
Wow. I wanted to just say it's not a cop-out. It could seem like a cop-out to just surrender to love and just do it. But you're actually revealing that is how the universe works. We are becoming the force of the universe. And I just want to say, as you were sharing, it's interesting because each of us knows what a pity party is. We can have a pity party with ourselves. And that's really our ego mind forgetting this great love that we are. And so when we shift back into this love, it really is transcending the mind or harnessing the mind. What would you say with the ego? Putting the ego in the back seat, befriending the ego, mastering the ego. What are your thoughts on this?
What if we said the ego doesn't exist?
Yeah, because let's just look into that for a moment. And we'll speak of what we mean by that. The ego that doesn't exist is the ego of the persona of one's self-image. That sense that's always changing. The preferences are changing. It's being reconditioned again and again. I like this. I don't like that. It's that expression where it comes from the Jungian or the Freudian expression of self-image. That doesn't exist. That needs to be crucified. That's the ego that it needs to be crucified to realize that individual is in fact divide. Individual in divide. What ego does exist, but it's more of the unique expression of oneself, is the sense of I, just the sense of aliveness, that sense of aliveness within you, just that I exist, that I exist without putting a label on it, without putting a mask on it, without putting a story attached to it, but just this sense that is the most closest expression within you before you start saying I am this or that or the other thing.
Right. There's a judgment that goes along with that naturally.
Yeah, I am this age or I am this person. These are roles. These are expressions within the human story. But that sense of aliveness, that I am, the I amness, that is your true nature. But eventually that also gets transcended. Later on when you're fully absorbed into love, then there's no even sense of individual. But that is the most resonant understanding. It's the most closest intimate connection to who you are with before the label comes on. So you have to see things clearly. You just see things clearly as they are first. So once one does that, then one goes into more of a truth inquiry. What is true? I mean, when you discern between the unreal and the real, the ever-changing, that's always shifting and changing and rearranging itself, multiplying itself, dissolving itself, that's obviously not the real, because it's
real never changes.
The supreme real, the supreme reality, that reality itself never changes.
Can never change.
Love can never change. It can never, it's not like, oh, I love you because I have a condition of what you will do for me as an interaction or a transaction. Love's not transactional, you know. But so when the ego is realized for its falsity, that obstacle just naturally is removed, because it never exists. Just like the shadow doesn't really exist. It only exists if light is shining upon you and you have a, you know, depending upon where you look at it. But the shadow doesn't really, you can't go and pick your shadow up.
Catch your shadow.
You can't go up and pick inches up. You can't go and pick, you know, they're just measurements. They're just tools for a job.
Just like time.
Just like time. Time doesn't really exist. Space doesn't really. How can space exist if it's just infinite? If it's completely infinite? Space
it's an oxymoron in its own right, even just saying that, space.
Yeah, but these are measurements that we use in order to interact with this beautiful miracle of life. So it's not to throw them out to say, oh, that's an illusion, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to use that. It's to see it what it is. And when you do that, there's more of an alignment with your divine self. And that divine mind that sees things clearly, the lower mind that's based on desire and aversion, which is the primal instinct of the human psyche. I like this, I don't like that. I seek pleasure, I don't want pain. That needs to be overcome. So you need to deal with that. And when you deal with that by facing it, then you can evolve beyond it.
And when we speak of illusion, it feels important to share that when one truly sees through the illusion, it is not to say that it's not in existence. It is to say that there is a level of clarity as that dance itself that shows up in such illumination that you become that completely. So it is not to say that it's not real in the sense of this is not tangible. These are tangible things in this experience. It's not to say, oh, those aren't real, it's all an illusion. No, it is.
Illusion just means not what it seems.
In the mind, all it knows how to do is dream another dream. Yeah. And it continues to dream itself into existence over and over and over again. And that is what the illusion is. It's the dreaming consistently over and over again. But this, where the dream is also where the magic is. It's also where the multiplicity of God is found and experienced. And in order to even have an experience, one needs to be in form. The world of form is what allows all of this. You get to play with all of this. And that's the main thing, is that this is a place to play. But how do you play? The doors don't open to play. The doors continue to close to play and perpetuate suffering. If you continue that suffering, if your mind continues its conditioning of suffering, of victimhood, of shaming, of guilting, of judgment, of projection, all of that, what we call the PDF, which is projections, defenses, and fears that are consistently playing on the hard drive of your computer system, so to speak.
Yeah, and there's a simple remedy for all of that. There's a simple remedy to transform all of that. And, you know, just everyone on this call, there's been a time where you've mistaken something. For example, you might have walked into a room that's been dark and you've got frightened because you saw something and you thought it was something different. But then you turn the light on and realize, oh, actually, That wasn't anything at all. It's just my subconscious playing tricks on me, and I just perceived it. That's what we're seeing. What's what we're saying when talking about the illusion. That's what we're talking about when we're speaking about one's conditioning. They project that reality where they perceive something from that's not actually there.
But then you turn the light on.
Then you turn the light on and you realize, oh, that rope wasn't a snake. I thought it was a snake and I got scared, but actually it's just a piece of rope. And that's the illusion, right? That's the illusion of it's not what it seems. So when you cut through that with the sword of truth, the sword of discernment, and you are able to clearly identify when the mind is projecting its own conditioning, it's projecting outwardly. When you can see that and you can catch yourself, that's when you can change it. And that's when you can shift it. And this happens in every single moment. If you come back to your heart, what happens is when you have a devoted heart, when you're devoted to love itself, whether you're devoted to a teacher, whether you're devoted to a deity, whether you're devoted to nature, whether you're devoted to the sun, whatever you're devoted to, or whatever you're just devoted to, peace and happiness, just there's a devotion there, there's a feeling there, and there's a connection there. When you do that, it purifies the mind. It's so amazing. It literally purifies the mind of all of these selfish tendencies that want to be self-ambitious or want to have something more than someone else, or puts this comparison, puts these judgment. It purifies all of that. So you just have to seek not love from the source of it, but find out where you created barriers around what love truly is in its unconditional expression, and just dissolve those barriers. And by realizing how false they are, by realizing that they've been learned. And when you do that, then love just remains. Love isn't buried away, isn't hidden from these walls that have been placed around your heart or placed around you. You know, because love is this inner radiance. When you feel love in its most purest, authentic, unconditional state, it's a fountain. You just want to share it with everyone. You could go to the supermarket and the beloved at the cashier service that's doing your groceries. You just fall in love with them for no purpose, no reason, but just because you are love, and you can be okay with that you can just fall in love with an absolute stranger just because you have come in contact with that love.
And because you see yourself in everything and everyone.
Not the image of yourself. That's the illusion.
Right.
But the true expression of yourself. And what happens is when you come in contact with that love, you start weeping. You start realizing how much that you've forgotten that. How sometimes you've turned away from that. How there's people that you want to forgive. How there's people that may have upset you and you've helped blame them. And you start really going to this inner personal psychology where you start really coming in contact with the things that may have not been righteous, may have not had the purest intent. And you start forgiving yourself for what you have not known, and you forgive others.
And it can be very painful to go through that.
And sometimes that is painful.
Also blissful at the exact same moment.
Yeah. And that's really, when you get down to it, what's the point of this life? What's the point of coming here? What's the point of showing up when you've been asked? What's the point of coming here if you get lost in the trance of fear? No, you're here to find that's the salvation that everyone's seeking, is the true nature of your being as that love. And when you become dedicated to that, when you become absolutely fixated on that, you don't listen to the noise. If someone's talking negatively about someone or something, you just, you hold compassion. Oh, I have compassion for that person. You don't lend an ear to that. You don't allow that toxicity to come into your environment. You let that go, and you realize what's most important. Love is its own rewards, really. And then there might be a practical person that thinks, oh, well, but how does love pay the bills? how does love make me, get this roof over my head and feed me? Well, actually, if you love what you do, you never actually have to work every day in your life, because no matter what you're doing, whether it's selfless service, whether you're going to you know, a job that you have a career in, whether you're, you know, seeking a different path or whatever that is, if you truly love what you do, that service, it becomes a devotion to love itself, and it becomes its own reward. But you're not seeking this greater gain. You're actually, all you're wishing for everyone is just to realize that one truth, and to everyone to have that direct experience, to transform all suffering tendencies, become blanketed with the purity of the Holy Spirit in every way. And that happens so easily. And there's no more time to oh, one day I'll choose to look at love in that way. And one time I'll choose to, there's no more time anymore.
People are literally being lifted off to other realities right now. Yeah. There is no more time.
You've chosen to come here to be a pillar of love. Nothing more, nothing less, because there's nothing greater than that. There is nothing greater than that. And when you choose that path, you realize that you already chose it before you came. There actually isn't a choice. And you stop playing small with this narrative of, you against the world, or the world's for my benefits. What can I get from this world? You just go, what can I give to this world? You seek more than others. You try to give more to others, because that's just your natural being. That's every human being's natural state. They just forgot it. And if you hold compassion for yourself and for others, and you turn towards that luminosity, that is a path that is the ultimate salvation, the ultimate end of all suffering.
Only salvation.
And it's the only happiness that you'll ever truly have.
And with that, it's so inspiring to hear this beautiful reminder. We've got comments coming in. I want to shout out to Steve Katamis, the love coach. Thank you for being here. We are all dedicated to being a pillar of love, each and every person on here. And that's why I love calling everyone who's watching or listening, whether it's live or to the recording, a new earth leader. That's what a new earth leader is. It's this discernment within. It's our commitment to love. We knew we were going to be here. And right now, as we are entering this portal on 11/11, we're coming up to the 11/11 Pacific time window, and this would be perfect to seat ourselves in the presence of our true self. Can you lead us on a process or meditation for that?
Yes, we'll be delighted. Yes. And that's just, as we go into it, that's the whole reward of this whole journey, is that when you have realized God's, to realize God is to love God's, and to love God is to realize God's. And when you truly know that, that means there's no more suffering. That means there's no more complaining. If you're truly embracing a spiritual path, you can never complain about anything that happens.
Give up your right to complain about anything.
You absolutely give up your right to complain. And so as we start this, we want this to be just letting go of all those false notions that prevents one from realizing that. Because when you can fully say with conviction, yes, I realize that truth. I realize that means that there's never any ever difficult situation ever again. You'll never have a problem ever again. You only, and that's what we're saying. That's the cultivation to the end of the initiatic journey, is where you are just love, only love, and nothing else remains. So let's make that the intention for this beautiful meditation that we do together. Okay. So if we just want to close our eyes for a moment and take a deep breath into the beautiful, bountiful, delicious heart that is a blessing to have beating in this moment of now. And take a breath into the very center, noticing that the center of your heart is the only center of the entire universe itself. The universe is not just around you, it is within you as you. Breathe into that knowing and relax. Relax your shoulders, your body, torso, your arms. And with every exhale, just softening into that holy presence, the great I am presence that is the present moment. Letting go of your week, the morning that's you had, letting that all go, just abiding in that luminous presence, letting go of all thoughts. You can pick them up later if you wish, but leaving them just as you would leave the shoes at the door of the temple. As you go into the temple of your heart, leave all those thoughts, take nothing with you. Be naked in the presence of love, of truth, of wisdom. Take a deep breath as we enter into this portal of 1111, the great synchronicity and master builder of the awakening of the collective. May you do this on behalf of all of humanity.
From the center of the heart, see now two pillars, a gateway connected by two pillars. These two pillars are represented by the 1111, the I am presence, the I am grateful. This time is a time of gratitude. It is a time to lay bare your soul. Lay bare your soul at the foot of God, at the foot of the divine. And before you walk through that gate, lay yourself bare. Everything you've been carrying with you. There can be no baggage as you walk through this next gateway of your life. All of your grievances, lay them bare. Anything you've been holding, now is the time. The entire cosmos is open for this right now. And we are all in support of you laying it all bare. Do so now with the greatest intentions. And let it all go.
Let it all go.
And watch as it dissolves right in front of you. And as that pile in front of you starts to dissolve, that's when you are ready. Heart, mind, spirit, soul, all your bodies, all of the elements that make up your person, to walk through the 1111 gateway.
Letting go of the individual I to return and remember the infinite I am presence. The I amness is the true nature of your being, the true reality of the universe. Stripping yourself bare to become one with the self-illuminated, expansive, boundless, timeless presence of God, of love. May you breathe into that sacred essence, that sacred source. May you let all of it go on behalf of everyone, all of humanity.
On behalf of the animals.
All the suffering, all the trauma, all the pain, all the anguish, let it dissolve. Let love take you. Let love deliver you to the grace of God. Let love unify you with that one unchanging expression, one unchanging bliss, one unchanging truth. Allow yourself in your awareness to be completely taken by the wings of grace, by the light of love, by the presence of the true self, the one and only beloved. Fall in love again and again and again. May this moment be the end to all other moments of division. But allow this moment to be the one unconditional expression and continuation of a life dedicated in service to the all-loving one, the one loving presence of the I Am.
And as you walked through to the other side of the gateway, there is a light that is so brilliant and so radiant that it may seem almost blinding to you. It may seem surreal. Continue to walk through it, and you shall find yourself on the other side. The beautiful presence of this love we speak of, this love you know so inherently, this love that you are, as it awaits you on the other side. When you're ready, find yourself hugging, merging with this other aspect, unifying with this love, with this presence, as you've been delivered by love itself to love itself. You are there, endearing, witnessing, and awaiting. And as you have been this entire time, now all is illuminated for you to see that you have been waiting for you. Unify and allow the deliverance of love.
Let it all go, to allow it all to become love. Simple, powerful, elegance, of love absolute. Be still and know love. That shall set you free.
And so it is.
And so it is. Amen.
We are elevated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's hold this, everyone. We've been given such a beautiful gift with this connection. Come back to it and use it in the face of everything. So beautiful and so inspiring. So thank you for these beautiful blessings, Sananda and Shekinah, on this powerful day. And so we'll carry this into 2022 and use it for new earth solutions and the creations of love. We've got this. And we thank everyone for being here and holding this light. We can feel it, and we're not going to let it diminish. All right. Well, thank you both so much for being here, and thank you everyone for being here. Again, I'm elated, and I know you are too. So hold this. These beautiful twin ray luminaries are here to assist all who wish to work with them. And they have a beautiful package offering to allow you to activate this golden divine physiology. So we're going to take a moment right now and just spend a quick moment and share ways that people can work with you in your package. And as we do that, I'm going to put a link in our chat line on Zoom. And this is also where the replay for today's show will be.
Beloved Lauren, you're muted.
Have I been muted the whole time?
No, just for the last 5 seconds.
Okay, all right, good. I wouldn't want to repeat that, although sometimes it does bear repeating. We're going to take just a quick moment. I've put the link to the replay in our chat line, and you guys can check that out. It's in our Zoom chat, but please take a moment, Sananda and Shekinah. This package that people can work with you on, tell us more about it.
Yeah. Just really enjoying these beautiful moments with everyone. And this is really what it's about. It's just to feel this beauty and be illuminated and self-illuminated by this. The golden age energetics that you're sharing,
awakening human divinity.
yes, is really just what we notice. What happens when beloveds utilize this program is that it creates a very clear picture of the initiatic journey and also of the human body as it is a microcosm of the macrocosm of the universe. So it's really a map to all that we have shared. There's how you are interconnected and interrelated to everything, but it pieces it together. So we've had beloveds that have been on a journey, on a spiritual journey for 40, 50 years, some that are just newly to that, but they've had profound experiences by this, because it teaches you that every aspect of your path of life there's a divine intelligent design behind it. And when you are bathing and emanating from this love that we've all been speaking into and sharing and just enjoying together,
basking in.
It's self-illuminating. So this is where the light body intelligence starts coming online as well. It's where all those perceptual, like chakras, for example, are just different wheels to sort of see the different aspects of life. The worlds within you become the world that you experience because you are the projector of your reality. And so what this teaches you is how to unify all of that, how to unify all the levels of the subtle bodies, how to really work. And we work with some very ancient practices from the light body lineage of really teaching how the mechanics comes into a very integrated approach. And that's what we've been focusing on for the last few years, actually, when it comes to really understanding this incredible technology, this incredible temple that you have, this divine instrument that you have. And there's so many boons that happen when you start becoming self-illuminated within yourself. Is that, you know, there's instant healings and transformations and all of it manifesting whatever it is in your life. When it's in alignment with your soul, it all becomes more effortless. And so that has become more of a prerequisite course and signature course for beloveds to come to retreats when they want to come to have retreats with us or learn the healing modalities and things like that, because it's become a very staple and foundational offering.
Yes, we have been so blessed to witness so many miracles, thousands of miracles from beloveds who've taken this awakening human divinity, now known as Golden Age energetics. It is really special, and it also brings such a feeling of unity to everyone who's really taken it. They feel like they're with us and they're with community, even if at that moment they're by themselves in their room or wherever they're experiencing it. It is like really being able to tap in to a consciousness, to the only consciousness that is the appearance of all life, is the appearance of all reality. And we spend a lot of time on video together, talking and sharing and communicating, answering questions, as well as beautiful keynotes and slides. And it's just a wonderful experience on all levels.
Yeah, it's like we call it a 7-day online retreat. It's like a retreat for your soul, in order for your soul to have the very map of heaven within and how to access that heaven within, to manifest that heaven on earth in your life. Because the golden age first has to become a reality within you, to abide in the truth of love, to really stand for the truth of love and express from that seed of your soul. And as you do that, life changes. It shifts its augmentation around that life of love, that source of love. And that's really what this program is about, is giving you a map of your own divinity and how to access that divinity inside you. That's always been there. It will always be there. It is you, truly. And these are just aspects of ascension teachings that help you to remember the one ascended truth of love and live that, experience that. And, again, the miracles speak for themselves. We have a whole page on our website that speaks of the praises of each individual's experiences of how their lives have transformed. And that's why we're here, is just to inspire for miracles to become a daily experience, because your daily experience is a miracle. The fact that you can breathe and you have a life, that you have a body, that you have this world to play with, it is an absolute miracle. But sometimes that can be forgotten. So our role has been to really inspire everyone to remember that simple, beautiful.
Absolutely, so beautiful. We've got people on our chat line here on Zoom that are commenting. Some have finished the course and they say it's profoundly transformative. So really wonderful. Just the feeling that we're in right now, how you've elevated us. And I wanted to say as well, you know, years ago when I met the beautiful couple that you are, it was just amazing how even in my own energetics, something would happen where in the quantum way, you would raise my vibration. And it was just very interesting. I just want to share that it's just an amazing journey. And it, again, is this simple return to love that we all knew we can do. And we're here to do it with everyone. So thank you for this beautiful package. Again, there is a 2 payment option, so it's affordable and it's an easy way for people to participate when they are motivated in such a way. And if not, it's all good. We can remember this love is why we came here. And I wanted to share that during the 11:11 transmission, right when it was 11:11 Pacific time, I looked up and I saw the key codes 222. We had 222 participants at that moment. And somehow that elevated us to a more magnetic and an ascension level. Isn't that beautiful?
Beautiful synchronicity. Absolutely.
Divine design.
Yes, divine design.
Divine design. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Well, the link for this program is available right here on this webpage. It's in the chat line here. And if you'd like to join our Zoom audiences for our next shows, visit acoustichealth.com and you can sign up. Well, I want to give everyone a big, giant heart hug. We are still in this beautiful space of love. And with that, I honor Sananda and Shekinah. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, beloved Lauren, and thank you to everyone that joined us today. It's been very special to be with everyone that has joined us, and we love and honor each and every one of you. Shine the beautiful light that you are, and just remember that you've always been love, you'll always be love, and all you need to do is choose that love. And as you make that choice, life will demonstrate exactly what you need to let go of in order for love to be reign supreme, essentially.
That's all that needs to reign is love.
Yes.
Reign supreme in love. Let love reign supreme. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone for joining us. We see you, we feel you, and we love you. Blessings and namaste. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.